We need to get rid of the endocrine disruptors. I am sorry, but you can eat all of the right foods and you can take all of the right supplements. But if you keep dumping all of the toxins into your body, we just can't keep up. So if we just start with removing that, you're going to be a massive step in the right direction. So let's talk about how you can balance out your estrogen naturally. And notice how I said balance. I didn't say get rid of, lower, because you actually really like estrogen. I know. We just had a momentary gasp there, I'm sure. But let's think about estrogen in the positive terms, right? Estrogen is great for bone health. You know all those vibes you have in your follicular phase when you're done with your period and you get super creative. You feel like it's the first day of the rest of your life. You're more sensitive to insulin. You build muscle easier. You utilize carb better. You just feel sexier. Your lips get fuller. Your face starts to get more symmetrical. That's estrogen. But we always give estrogen a bad rap. We go, oh, estrogen causes cancer. Estrogen's giving me horrible periods. Estrogen is bad. I hate estrogen. Estrogen dominance. These are probably all words that you've heard and connected to estrogen in a very negative way, right? So let's talk about balancing it out. Now, when we are thinking of estrogen, it's not that we don't want any of it, right? We just talked about all of those positives that you get from estrogen, and you're probably thinking, yeah, I actually would like some of those. Yeah, me too. But we also like estrogen in balance. We don't want estrogen to go off the deep end, right? We want to have a nice ebb and flow of estrogen that comes up at the right time of our cycle and goes down when it's supposed to. So in order to talk about the ways that we need to detox estrogen, I have 3 amazing ways, one of which I don't know if we've really talked about on here before, so definitely going to want to stay for that one. But I want to talk about what estrogen does in the body and the ebb and flow of it so we can understand how that's working in your menstrual cycle, okay? When we think of our menstrual cycle, we have our period, and then we have our follicular phase, and then we have ovulatory phase, and then we have our luteal phase, right? You know the 4 phases of the cycle. You are not new to that. So when we're thinking about estrogen, it's the lowest, right, on our period. And then when we're done bleeding and we're in that follicular phase, estrogen is starting to rise. Our brain tells our ovaries, hey, it's time to make estrogen. So estrogen is slowly rising. When estrogen reaches a certain level, when it reaches its peak, it tells the brain, hey, we have enough estrogen. And then brain goes, great. Can you release the LH hormone so that we can ovulate? And ovaries say, of course, brain. And we release the LH hormone and we ovulate. So estrogen peaks at ovulation. Now, after ovulation, estrogen is coming down and it will have one more gentle surge before it drops again for the period. Now, that gentle surge in that 4th phase and that luteal phase is not as high as ovulation. So we are rising in follicular phase. We peak at ovulation. We come down. We have a gentle rise and then we lower for our period to start. And that's the rise and fall of estrogen. Okay. So let's talk about some symptoms that you may have if you have heavy or high estrogen. So you could have maybe irregular or heavy periods, maybe water retention. You feel puffy and bloated all the time. Breast swelling and tenderness. This is really common. You know, that pre-period and that luteal phase where every time you touch your breast, you're like, oh my goodness, I feel like I have cantaloupes. It hurts. You can't put your arms down. Yeah. Headaches and migraines pre-period, weight gain, mood swings, hair loss, painful periods, PMS as well. Now, you might in your head start having these red flags going off of some of those symptoms sound very similar to low progesterone. Yeah, that's typically because high estrogen and low progesterone go hand in hand, right? Our hormones are chemical messengers. They communicate. So if one is off, the other is off and vice versa. They go hand in hand like that. You can't be thinking about them separately, right? If one's off, the other is off and vice versa. Okay. So that's high estrogen, low estrogen, night sweats, depression, vaginal dryness, hair loss, insomnia. Now you might be thinking right now when you hear those, you might be going, okay, why do some of the phases of my cycle, I feel like I have high estrogen, and then other phases, I feel like I have low estrogen? Yeah, that's totally normal. So that may be when you're doing your ebb and flow. your estrogen got so high. And then when it's coming down in that luteal phase, you just feel like you fell off an estrogen cliff. It was like, whew, we had so much. Now where did it all go? So it's not uncommon, especially if you are still menstruating and you're not in perimenopause yet. Well, you are still menstruating when you are in perimenopause. But if you are not quite to perimenopause, but you feel like you get night sweats before your period, this may be why your estrogen roller coaster is off its rails and it needs to get back on. Okay. So what are we going to do about this? Right. So the number one thing that I want to talk to you today about is beta glucuronidase. So this is an enzyme in your gut. And when we have normal, optimal levels of this, everything is running smoothly. Now, what happens when we get high beta glucuronidase? So this happens when we have gut dysbiosis. So when we have a gut dysbiosis, when you have leaky gut, when you have anything going on in your gut, I want to share a little picture for you. So when you think about your gut, think about your fingers being laced together here. If you're listening to the audio, you can't see this, but if you're watching the video, you can see this. They're really tight, right? So when my fingers are laced really tight, nothing can get through. Nothing big can get through, I should say. Nothing big. Now, let's say my fingers get unlaced a little bit, and now we have these little holes in between my fingers. Think about that as leaky gut or gut dysbiosis. Now, what happens is too large of food proteins can start getting through. When we have these too large of food proteins getting through, your body tags it as an alien. Hey, the avocado protein, that was not supposed to get through to the bloodstream. It was too large. Tags it as an alien. The next time you eat it, you have a reaction to it. You have an inflammatory response because your body says, we have to get rid of this. This is bad. Get it gone. And that is where food sensitivities start. Now, cutting out that food, you just get more because you never fixed the issues with your tight your barriers in your junctions in your gut. You still have the holes. So if we still have the holes and you take the food out, you may feel better for a couple days, and then you start having a reaction to another food. And this is where, my friends, I get the clients that have a million food sensitivities. And they just keep getting more and more and more. And they go, I can eat 3 foods. That's it. And eventually they aren't even going to feel like they could eat those 3 foods anymore. And this is why I don't like food sensitivity tests. It's not solving an issue for you at all. It's not solving an issue at all. It's just spending a lot of money making you take out a food group just to then take out a million more food groups. Now, I do think that there is a time and a place for elimination when done correctly. But when you're doing an elimination, you have to be fixing the gut. If you're not fixing the gut, then what are you doing? You are wasting your time, you're wasting your mental energy, and you're probably very frustrated, right? You have to be fixing the gut barriers. You have to be patching the holes at the same time, which is really important. So, back to our beta glucuronidase. When we have these leaky gut, which is what we call it, even though it's just literally an issue with our tight junctions in our gut. When we have this leaky gut and we have gut dysbiosis, what is that? That is an imbalance in our gut bacteria, either too high of some bacteria, too low of others, dysbiosis. It is not balanced. So when this occurs, we have this issue with our tight junctions. The enzyme beta glucuronidase is too high. So what happens when it is too high? I want you to think about this enzyme as the enemy when it is too high. Okay. So when your estrogen is bound up and it's going to be very nicely just escorted out of the body and beta glucuronidase is too high, it comes in and it severs that bond that is connected to the estrogen. And now it helps and makes estrogen recirculate. What? So you just did all of this work of binding up all of that excess estrogen, used up estrogen, and you're about to say, bye-bye, go on through. We're going to poop you out. And beta glucuronidase is too high, and it comes up and it severs that bond, and it goes, see ya. And the estrogen recirculates. What on earth? So now we're doing all of this work to make sure that we're getting rid of this excess estrogen, but you just keep recirculating. This is a circle that is never going to end. You just keep going around and around and around and around, and it's extremely frustrating. What on earth? How do we stop this? Okay, so we basically, obviously, have to decrease the levels of beta-glucuronidase. How do we do this? We have to establish a healthy gut microbiome, which means you have to eat a diet high in glucuronic acid. So foods that are high in glucuronic acid, you're going to know what I'm talking about here. These are going to sound very, very familiar because a lot of these are also very high in DIM, which helps bring lower estrogen. Detox it well. Brussels sprouts, ding, ding, ding. Broccoli, ding, ding, ding. Cabbage, ding, ding, ding. Apples, oranges, foods high in soluble fiber. Think about broccoli sprouts, broccolini, anything in that family is going to be really good. You have to reestablish that gut microbiome. Now, what's really interesting about all of this is that you probably will start eating those foods because you go, yeah, that's definitely my issue. So you're going to start eating those foods and you're going to get bloated. You're going to get gassy. Maybe you get constipated. And like, well, that's not fun. I'm going to go back to my estrogen dominance. And that's because we just don't have the enzymes and the stomach acid to digest all of this fiber in these vegetables. So when I hear women, they're like, I can't eat meat. It makes me feel XYZ, or I can't eat vegetables. It makes me feel XYZ. I don't look at that food and go, you are evil. We're never going to eat that again. I immediately say, we have an issue with digestion here. We have an issue with our stomach acid. So this is where testing, which is what we do in the Hormone Reset program. This is where testing and really balancing out these minerals that affect your stomach acid and digestion is going to be really, really impactful. So I highly recommend doing that because we're going to fast track your results. Like, let's not keep dealing with these issues for 25 more years. Let's just get rid of them. But start first with really well-cooked vegetables. So we still want to get this fiber up, but maybe you're not going to jump from not eating any of it to eating all of it the next day. That's not going to be wise. It's not going to be helpful for your gut. You're not going to be able to sustain it. You're going to feel horrible. You're going to feel gross. Okay. So just start with adding in a little bit. Make sure it's really well cooked, and then you can go from there. So there are some times I would like to use a supplement to help with this, but the thing about this supplement is if you don't need it, it's going to cause you to feel a million times worse. So I don't ever recommend this supplement unless we have tested. If we've tested, it's going to save your life. If you haven't tested, probably don't do it. Okay. So that's number one I would start with, is increasing these foods into your diet, getting that fiber in. Fiber is really, really good for our gut microbiome. Prebiotic fiber is going to be great for feeding our good microbiome. All of these things are going to be amazing. Amazing. And then you can get deeper with testing, right? So when you can fix your stomach acid levels, you can start repairing those tight junctions. We're going to come full circle and we're going to feel amazing. But without testing, that is where I would start, is increasing those foods slowly in your gut. Okay. Well, in your diet. So then we can lower beta-glucuronidase in your gut. Okay. So that's where I start. Now, another thing. So the gut plays a really, really, really big role here. Now, the next one that I would do. So first thing that you would do to balance estrogen. Second thing, again, I don't think this is going to be a secret to you, but we need to remove endocrine disruptors. We need to do it. It needs to go. Okay. So everybody makes fun of me at how I say this. How do you guys say Febreze? Is it Febreze? Febreze? I don't know. I literally don't know. Someone please help me and tell me how to pronounce that. Whenever I see the ads for that on TV shows, it makes me laugh so hard because they'll walk into this house and it's brown and the lady's wearing like brown, ugly clothes. And she walks in and she just goes, ugh, my house stinks. Everything is so drab and dreary. And then she pulls this out and she sprays it throughout the room and everything turns blue and white and sparkly and clean just to make you feel like you spray that in your house and your house just magically cleans itself. So those commercials always make me laugh, but don't do that. Get rid of the Glade plugins, get rid of all of these things, get rid of the things with the artificial fragrance would be number one, the biggest endocrine disruptor that I would get rid of, because you would be amazed at how many of your products have artificial fragrance and are causing issues. Your tampons, your pads, your hair products, your skincare, your makeup, your cleaning products. What else? Your body care, things to make your house smell good. Start there. Remove the endocrine disruptors, because let's just think about it. So your hormones are little chemical messengers. And I want you to think about having all of these receptors on your body. This is how everybody's communicating. Now, if we have all these endocrine disruptors, you have all these xenoestrogens, false estrogens coming from these endocrine disruptors. They're coming in and they're sitting on these receptors in your body. So think about it like musical chairs. So if the endocrine disruptors come in and sit on these receptors before your hormones make it there, well, then we're all confused. Then they can't sit there because the false estrogens, the xenoestrogens already sat there. So when we think about it like basically like that, I think it's easier to go, okay, we need to get rid of the endocrine disruptors. Like, I am sorry, but you can eat all of the right foods and you can take all of the right supplements. But if you keep dumping all of the toxins into your body, we can't keep up. We just can't keep up. So if we just start with removing that, you're going to be a massive step in the right direction. Okay. So artificial fragrance, start removing other endocrine disruptors. And I know that sounds intimidating, right? We're thinking about, your cookware, storing things in plastic containers, guys, plastic containers, that needs to go. Okay. Plastic water bottles needs to go. Glass. Let's do glass or stainless steel, something like that. Okay. It is such a disservice to your body to be doing all the things and taking the supplements and all of that. And then you're just dumping all these toxins in. So think about it like this. So here's my glass of water, and at the bottom, let's say you poke a tiny little hole. Tiny. It's very tiny. And that is how you are detoxing, right? So the water is getting out. You know, eventually my cup will be empty. But will it if I have another jug over here that I keep dumping into my cup and I only have this tiny little hole in the bottom? We're never going to get rid of all of the toxins in the cup, right? And that is how I want you to think about your body. You can be doing the things to detox. You can be, but if we are not getting rid of that massive jug that you are still dumping into the cup, we're never going to get anywhere. Okay. So we have some other episodes on endocrine disruptors. So I highly recommend, going back and listening to them. If you have no idea where to start when it comes to getting rid of toxic products, I have a freebie called the Switch and Ditch Guide, and it goes through a bunch of different products and has non-toxic switches for them. And these are ones that I've personally tried or my clients have tried, because something that I find really frustrating when I go into the non-toxic space is that there is plenty. There are plenty of options of non-toxic products. There are not plenty of options of non-toxic products that work. And as somebody with curly hair, I want my hair products to work. When I wear skincare and makeup, I want it to be non-toxic. I want it to be anti-aging. I want it to look amazing. I want it to last all day. I also want it to be non-toxic. And I demand high quality from my products. I don't put coconut oil on my face. I'm sorry. It's a way to like age myself very quickly because it's a pore clogger. But go to the Switch and Ditch Guide. It has a bunch of brands. I mean, it has baby products, cleaning products, candles, hair care, skincare, makeup, body care, What else? It even has a list of ingredients that you can check your current products with as well. So it's a great resource, but that is where I would start with endocrine disruptors and with the cooking and where you're storing your product, storing your food. So storage containers and the artificial fragrance in the house. The other thing to think about is that it doesn't have to happen overnight. Once you become aware of this, it can be very overwhelming and you can think, oh, I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to get rid of everything. It's going to be so expensive. So why bother? Thinking the phrase, why bother, is the worst thing that you can do for your health. Why? Because then you don't do anything and you're stuck exactly where you are with all of your symptoms, right? That's not fun. That's not fun. So one step at a time, you use up your foundation, buy one that's non-toxic. You use up your hair care, buy one that's not toxic from the Switch and Ditch Guide. Okay? One step at a time. It doesn't have to happen overnight. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. You switch and ditch your products one at a time. It doesn't have to be all of them. Literally just switching one at a time is doing such a massive service to your body. It is worth it. So don't think all or nothing. Just start. Just start. And the other thing that I want to just impress upon you is that you will never live in a non-toxic world unless you go live on a different planet in a bubble suit, which you probably aren't going to. So never going to happen. So let go of the perfectionism and do the best that you can. And that starts with one product at a time. Okay. So that is my other thing that I would highly, highly, highly recommend. And then this tip I actually want to give for my wonderful ladies, because we talked a lot about detoxing and detoxing and detoxing. And there may be some of you over here that are going, I am in the world of low estrogen. Yeah, is that you? So if that's you, there is something that you should start. Whether you have low or high estrogen, you should start seed cycling. I talk about seed cycling all of the time because it's just something so simple that you can add to your day. And it's this little ritual that you can do with your cycle, and you can make fun snacks, and it's easy to do. So seed cycling is 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds and 1 tablespoon of flax seeds, organic and whole, raw. Grind them up before you eat them. Because if you buy them ground, they go rancid a lot faster, and then you don't know how long they've been sitting on the shelf. So buy them whole, organic, grind them yourselves with a coffee grinder. And then 1 tablespoon of each from your period to ovulation. And then ovulation to period, you're going to switch to 1 tablespoon of sesame and 1 tablespoon of sunflower seeds, organic and whole. Grind them before you eat them. Now, there are so many ways you can eat these. You know, I will sprinkle these in yogurt. It's a great way to get more fiber in, killing multiple birds with one stone here. Fiber. I do yogurt. The other thing that I do is I make these, I call them like energy seed cycling balls, and they're so good. They're so good. Let me tell you them. Okay. So these are also low glycemic, lower glycemic than ones that typically I see out there. If you like coconut, you will be obsessed with these. If you don't like coconut, don't try these. Okay. So it is 2 cups of shredded coconut. I do the finely shredded coconut. 1 cup of nut butter of your choice. I make my nut butter from scratch. It is so easy and it tastes amazing. You will never go back. I just roast my nuts at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then you just blend them into a nut butter. It's literally that simple. And you'll never go back. Store them in a glass container, my dears. So 2 cups of shredded coconut, 1 cup of nut butter. What comes next? 1 teaspoon of vanilla, sprinkle of Redmond's sea salt, literally sprinkle because I don't know how much I put on there. Okay. What else am I missing? 1/3 cup of honey. You do have to use honey for the texture. 1/3 cup of honey. And then 1 cup of seeds. So I'll do 1 cup of the seed blend for that phase of my cycle that I'm in. Let me think. Is that it? Oh, and then I will get a dark chocolate bar and chop it up into tiny pieces. Mix that all together. If I'm going the extra mile, I will actually put a mushroom blend in there. So I use Versio Wellness mushroom blends. So depending on which phase of my cycle, I'll choose a different blend. So like if I'm doing pumpkin and flax seeds, because I'm in the period to ovulation, I typically will do the Rejuvenate, or which one? I think it's the 5 mushroom blend. It's their green jar. I will do that. So I will put in about 3 teaspoons of it because that is six-ish servings. And then if I'm doing sesame and sunflower seeds, so if I'm in my ovulation to period, I will do the 4 mushroom blend, which is the orange one, because that one has reishi. It's very calming that we need during that phase. So those are the 2 blends that I will typically use. And you just roll them into balls and you should have 6 to 7 servings. So it will last you a week. And that's your serving of the seeds for that week. So you can buy them from the store, whole and organic, and then grind them. You can also there is a seed cycling subscription called Funkit Wellness, FUNK. I know what you were thinking. And you can use the code Leah15 to save with them. So I do the subscription because you get free shipping, and then you can stack that with the code Leah15. So you're getting a double whammy discount. And that is very, very comparable to buying them at the store, and it's shipped right to your house. She grinds them right before shipping them. So you don't have to bother like grinding them yourself in your coffee grinder. And then you also know that they're not going to be rancid because she gets them from B Corp certified organic farms and then grinds them right before. What a great invention. It makes my life so much easier. So anyways, that's how I make those balls. But yogurt, sprinkle it on salads. I do this broccoli slaw that I put with my foods a lot. And it's like shredded broccoli and carrots and cabbage. I mean, we're just killing it there with, the gut microbiome. And then I'll sprinkle the seeds, and I'll put, typically chicken and avocados, and then some type of Italian dressing. I'm always on the hunt for a really good Italian dressing. I am Italian, and I feel like that Italian dressing gene didn't make it to me. It didn't make it to me. So if you have a really good one, I am begging you to please send it to me. I will love you forever. Literally, I will love you forever. Because I feel like I'm constantly trying new ones all the time. I'm just disappointed. So anyways, please send it to me. I will love you. So seed cycling is where I would start, whether you have low or high, because seed cycling is really, really great at being an adaptogen for your estrogen. So if your body needs to bring it up, it will help it. If it needs to bring it down, it will help your body do that as well. Thank you to all that fiber. So, I would highly recommend starting with seed cycling. Then we're going to focus on the foods to lower beta-glucuronidase. You're going to get rid of the endocrine disruptors. You would be amazed at just putting your body in that healing environment, like removing the endocrine disruptors, the benefits that you will notice doing that. So can't recommend it enough. So those are the 3 things that I would start to do if I were you and you're working on balancing that estrogen naturally. And I would also love it if you would send me your Italian dressing recipe. Thank you.